What's up, everybody? It's your main man, Ken, 3 times. And today is a video that I'd like to make on the 4 doors of the Sufi spiritual path. So, without further ado, guys, let's get into it. 4 doors. So, these 4 doors are four metaphysical, metaphorical, symbolic doors that one gets opened for them by the spirit guides. You know what I'm saying? So who are the spirit guides is probably a good question. So you have the high vibrational spirit guides and you have the low vibrational spirit guides. The high vibrational spirit guides are basically the Quran, the Sunnah, and the prophets. You know what I'm saying? That is the high vibrational spirit guides. The low vibrational spirit guides are the scholars, the sheikhs, and the saints, the awliya. So these people go hand in hand with each other to help guide us through the religion of Islam and to help guide us through the straight path. So when you get in touch with your spirit guides, when you get in touch with the Quran, when you get in touch with the Sunnah, when you get in touch with a sheikh, when you get in touch with a wali, you begin to see doors open up for you. And the 4 doors are Hakika, Tariqa, Sharia, and Marifa. So Hakika means truth. Tariqa means order. Sharia means law. And Marifa means inner knowledge. So today I would like to run you guys through all 4 doors and basically tell you guys a little bit about each one. So first up is Hakika, which is truth. So this has to do with believing in God. There's 6 articles of faith. Believing in God, His messengers, His angels, His books, the last day, and predestination. These 6 elements of faith represent Hakika, which is truth. When one sees the truth with their own eyes, you know what I'm saying, and when one experiences the truth with their heart, they come to realize that God is one. So one of the parts of Tawheed, one of the parts of Hakika is Tawheed. Tawheed basically means oneness of God, and basically what they realize is that that the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, is his final messenger. You know, so when you look at stuff like one of the ways that you could study Hakika and open the door of the Hakika is basically through the studying of the Quran and a study of prophecy as well. If you study prophecy, if you study the Quran, you get Hakika opened up for you. And so yeah, that's pretty much it. The second door is Tariqa, which is order. So a little bit about Tariqa is that Sufi orders were innovated in the religion about 600 years after the Prophet ﷺ passed away. So Sufi tariqas, I would not recommend, personally, this is my personal knowledge, I would not recommend you join a tariqa. I would not recommend you join an order and stuff like that. What I would recommend, however, remember how I said we had high vibrational spirit guides and low vibrational spirit guides? To access the high vibrational spirit guides, all you need is the Quran and Sunnah. You know what I'm saying? Like, do you just need the prophets and God? And that's the high vibrational guides. But the low vibrational guides, and so the high vibrational guides are in Hakika, because the prophets are the truth. You know what I'm saying? Well, God is ultimately the truth, but the prophets are the way to the truth. Just like how Jesus said, I am, in the Gospels, like a lot of the things that Jesus gets misconstrued for saying is like when he said, I am the way, the truth, and the life. Like, we as Muslims don't have a problem with this saying. You can be the way to something and not be something. You know what I'm saying? Be the actual destination. Like, if I am the way to the airport, that doesn't mean I am the airport itself. It means I am the way to the airport. So we as Muslims have no objection to this idea that the prophets are the truth, the way, and the life. You know, so that's the high vibrational spirit guides in Hakika. Now we're going to get into the low vibrational spirit guides in Tariqa. Now a lot of people think that in order to get tapped into a scholar, in order to study under a scholar and stuff, in order to study under a sheikh, in order to find a wali, you have to find a Sufi order. That's not 100% true. You know what I'm saying? You could study under a Sufi scholar today. by just reading up their works, reading up their ideas, and reading up their biography. So what Sufi scholar, sheikh, and saint would I recommend studying under? I would personally recommend the OG, the one that started it all, the man with the plan, Hassan al-Basri. Now the reason why I say that is because Hassan al-Basri's ideas, like his preachings and his sermons and his mysticism, a lot of sources claim that this is what started Sufism today. So opening the door of tariqah and stuff, like, who I would recommend you open the door of tariqah with, I recommend you open the door of tariqah with Hassan al-Basri. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, that's pretty much it. So the next one is Sharia. Sharia is the law. So this is the outer knowledge that is within us, the outside of us. This is the outer knowledge. The Sharia is the outer knowledge. So when one is searching for knowledge, one is searching for the Sharia, because knowledge is the law to life. Knowledge is the basis to life. Knowledge is power. It's something we hear in a lot of situations and in a lot of cases today. That knowledge is power. So looking for outer knowledge in the Quran and the Sunnah, and also looking for it in the authoritative figures, because Allah in the Quran says, obey God, obey the messengers, and obey those in authority. So the very classical interpretation of the obeying those in authority is obeying the scholars and obeying the saints. You know what I'm saying? So Hakika comes from the prophets and the Quran and Sunnah and stuff, and Sharia and Tariqah comes from the scholars, saints, and awliya. Once again, like, we have another duality and stuff. You know what I'm saying? Like Sharia also comes from the what's it called, the Quran and Sunnah. But Marifa, as you could probably guess with the next one, comes from the saints, the scholars, and the sheikhs. You know what I'm saying? So, like, you're noticing that with these four doors, two of them, they have a duality with them. Duality is like a huge concept within Islam. You know what I'm saying? So there's a duality between these four doors. One is the prophets, and then the other one is the saints. You know what I'm saying? So, basically, like, Sharia is the law. Once you know what God has prohibited and restricted, you open the door to the law. And the law basically tells us that we should stay away from intoxicants, which is what I'm trying to do. We gotta stay away from lust. We gotta stay away from... It's not just what you stay away from. It's like a lot of people like to construe, like, why does your religion like prohibit everything? It's not that our religion prohibits everything. It's that everything that the Western world promotes and shoves in our face just so happens to be haram. You know what I'm saying? If you go into a Muslim country, you'll find out that a lot of pleasures and a lot of great things in life are halal. You know what I'm saying? In Muslim countries. So basically, guys, like, the door of Sharia basically gives us enlightenment on what is good and what is evil. You know what I'm saying? So what we should attract in our life and what we should repel in our life. We should attract God into our life. We should attract meditation and prayer and happiness into our life. We should attract consciousness and fear of God in our life. We should repel fear of death from our life. We should repel negativity from our life. We should repel dwelling on our past from our life. And, as Hassan al-Basri said, that this world is 3 days: yesterday, today, and tomorrow, and the only day you have in control of is today. So basically, like, that is the door of Sharia. Now we're gonna go to the door of Marifa. This is personally my favorite one. You know what I'm saying? So the door of Marifa is the door of inner knowledge. And like I just explained, the door of Sharia, this comes from the scholars, the saints, and this also comes from meditation. You know, if Sharia, because part of the Sharia law is obviously praying Salah, right? So that's an external thing. I've always viewed, like, this is just my personal view, you don't have to agree with it, but like, I've always viewed prayer as an external thing, meditation as an internal thing, and dua, which is supplication, as a middle thing, like as like a both, as like a combination of both. If you don't know what supplication is basically when you ask somebody who's in a position of authority for something in a very desperate manner, you know. So that's basically what supplication is. So the door of Marifa can be opened through meditation. You know, when you're meditating on the word, when you're meditating on dhikr, on the names of God, when you're meditating on all these things and stuff like that, when you're meditating on silence, when you're meditating and stuff like that, you basically open up these doors to Marifa, and where you begin to know God a little bit better than you would usually do. You would have like this more, it's more, Marifa is like more of a feeling than it is an actual tangible thing. You're like the Sharia and the Hakika, those are tangible things, like the Quran and stuff, like the Quran and the Sunnah. Tariqa and Marifa are more of like an inner feeling thing. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's a very famous Sufi saying that you don't find the tariqa finds you. You know? So, I would say that, you know what I'm saying, like, even though I don't recommend you join a tariqa, I would still say let your heart guide you to what tariqa works for you, because I found a tariqa works for me. I basically just study under Hassan al-Basri, Rumi, and Imam Ghazali. You know, some of the three most profound ascetics and mystics of our time, you know. And so I basically, but that is what works for me. I don't know what works for you, so you gotta let your heart guide you towards your order and stuff, because that's my order. You feel me? And so Marifa is it says in the Quran that Allah places His tranquility from His divine presence into the hearts of believers. So what that means for us is that Marifa is all about feeling inner peace and inner sanctum, you know, inner happiness and inner things. You know what I'm saying? Marifa is a very inner thing. So I'd like to move on to two more segments. One, the goals that I have for each of the doors. Yes, I have goals that I set up for each of the doors. And two is a analogy that I read up on the four doors. So the first thing I'm going to talk about is the basically the goals that I have set up for the four doors. So for the door of Hakika, I have the sweetness of faith. Sweetness of faith. So the Prophet ﷺ, in an authentic hadith, he says that if you do these three things, you would taste the sweetness of faith. If you have God and the Prophet be dearer to you than anyone else, if you love someone for Allah's sake, and if you hate returning to disbelief, these three things will make you taste the sweetness of Iman, taste the sweetness of the religion. The second thing is tariqa is called kushu. The second goal that I have for tariqa is called kushu. Now kushu is basically your focus in prayer and your tolerance towards patience. The Quran in chapter 2 verse 45 says that basically seek help through patience and prayer, and this is a burden for people without kushu. So if you don't have kushu, patience and prayer are burdensome to you. You know, being patient in life and praying are two of the biggest aspects of life, especially patience. But prayer 100%. You know what I'm saying? But not everyone is Muslim, right? So like patience is something that you could universally communicate. There's that duality again. Patience is that virtue you can universally communicate, while prayer is a virtue you can only communicate inside the community. you know. So there's outside of the community and there's inside the community, you know. So patience is something that's for the world, and prayer is something that's for the religion, for the actual connection with God, you know. So kushu, I've explained kushu. You know how Eastern religions have enlightenment? The enlightenment that is in Islam is called kushu. You know, how focused you are, how in the moment you are when you're praying, how patient you are in life. These things are add up to kushu. Now, the third thing I'd like to talk about, the third goal that I have in Sharia is purifying the ego. Now, the ego has 7 levels, which I will be doing a video on. I'll be doing a video series on, actually. And basically, I was basically thinking about this guy's like the ego does not need to be destroyed. The ego needs to be purified. The ego needs to be wiped clean. You know what I'm saying? So basically, what happens is that purifying the ego is one of the biggest aspects and one of the biggest ideas of the Sufi path. So why I linked it up with the door of Sharia is because the Sharia law and light, just like how tariqa like guide you towards kushu, you know what I'm saying? Like and hakika drives you towards the sweetness of faith. Sharia guides you towards purifying the ego, because finding what's lawful and good and finding what's evil and wicked can help, will help you purify your ego. Because if you know what to stay away from and if you know what to enjoin on your life, then you will succeed, inshallah. So yeah, now the final one, the door of Marifa, is the Garden of Marifa. So in the Bahr al-Madid, which is basically like a spiritual interpretation of the Quran, they basically did a commentary in Surah Ar-Rahman. And in Surah Ar-Rahman, they say that for those who fear the station of the Lord, there's 2 gardens. So the first garden is the physical garden that we experience in the afterlife. The second garden is a spiritual garden that we access in this life, you know? So the second garden is basically the garden of Marifa. The first garden is the garden of Tawheed, which means, again, oneness of God. But the second garden is the garden of Marifa, which is knowledge, which is inner knowledge and stuff like that. You know what I'm saying? So if you've noticed all of these 4 things, what do all 4 of these goals have in common? With Hakika being the sweetness of faith, with Tariqa being Kushu, with Sharia being purifying the ego, and Marifa being the garden of Marifa. What do all 4 of these things have in common? What all 4 of these things have in common is basically like they result in some sort of inner peace that one finds. They result in some sort of inner peace, inner sanctum, inner devotion, inner everything that one tries to find in their path towards God, right? So what I did was I basically made one goal to encapsulate and basically summarize all of the goals, and this one goal is called the goal of al-fana. Now, al-fana is basically the state of meditation that you reach, and a state of prayer meditation that you reach, and where basically your ego wipes itself clean because it came into contact with the divine presence. And so, basically, al-fana is basically the removal and the it has everything. It has the purification of the ego. It has the acknowledgement of the Sharia. It has the basically like the Marifa. It has the Hakika, because like you're coming in contact with the truth, because God is the truth, right? You're coming in contact with the truth, and so the truth is setting you free. You know what I'm saying? Truth will set you free. So basically, that is basically it. So we just reached the 20-minute mark. I'm gonna spend like the last few minutes of it describing you guys, basically, the metaphor, the analogy for the four doors. So the analogy for the four doors is basically this. It's about a pearl gatherer. You know, a pearl gatherer, like you gather pearls on a boat, right? So imagine you're on a boat and you're gathering pearls. You're rowing the boat, you're diving in for pearls, you're getting pearls and stuff like that. You're seeing pearls and stuff like that. So imagine you're gathering a boat. You're gathering pearls on a boat. What is the boat? Now, the boat is the Sharia law. The Sharia law is the boat. It's the thing that keeps us afloat. Hey, that rhymes. It's the thing that keeps us afloat during these times that we live in, and where we are ambiguous on what is right and what is wrong. You know? And so the Sharia law keeps us afloat and understanding on what is right and what is evil. So that's why it's the boat. Now the rowing and the diving for pearls and the rowing of the boat, that represents the tariqah. Now the order and stuff like that, the order of the Sharia law, the way the scholars interpret the Sharia law, and the way that the Sharia law is basically like distributed and understood, is basically the rowing of the boat and the diving in the water. Now the pearls, the actual pearls itself is the hakika. You know what I'm saying? The actual pearls itself that you find on your journey is called hakika. And the perceptibility, so you're finding pearls, right? But what are you trying to look for? What are the spiritual pearls of life? Truth. Haq. You know what I'm saying? Haq means truth. Haq is basically the the spiritual pearls of life, and the spiritual pearls that one gathers in their life. I'm trying to reach 25 minutes. Basically, guys, like truth, the spiritual truth that you find in your life and stuff like that, the spiritual truth that you find is the pearls. Now, your ability to perceive the pearls and your ability to see the true beauty of the pearls, because beauty is in the eyes of the beholder. So your ability to see the beauty of the pearls and your ability to see the radiance and the loveliness and the beauty and the fragrance of the pearls. Pearls don't have fragrance. Fragility, that's what I want to say, because pearls are fragile. The fragility of the pearls, basically, what this is marifa. Marifa and hakika go hand in hand with each other. Just like how marifa and sharia go hand in hand with each other, because sharia is the outer knowledge and marifa is the inner knowledge. So basically, guys, like how marifa and hakika go together is that hakika is the truth, but marifa is the ability to actually feel the truth within you. Because Allah says in the Hadith Qudsi, neither my heavens nor my earth can contain me, but the heart of my believing servant can. You know? So basically, guys, like that's pretty much it. So we have a minute left in the video. So we'll recap what I just explained to you guys about the pearl gathering four doors analogy. So the boat that you gather the pearls on, that's the Sharia law. The rowing of the boat and the diving in for the pearls, that's the tariqah. The pearls itself is the hakika, the truth. The perceptibility of the pearls is marifa. Yeah, y'all feel me? It's one of my favorite analogies. It's one of my favorite analogies, like that basically that's been given to me. You know what I'm saying? So without further ado, guys, that's pretty much it. We have 25 minutes left in that video, and yeah, I'm really glad we could do this together, guys. Thank you so much. This is Ken 3 times signing out. We're gonna run down the clock for 10 seconds. 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.